the world is unfair, life is unfair, politics is really unfair.
That is a master campaigner to be for and against it at the same time.
Politics. I hate that guy. I love you for supporting me. Is she does not have that intrinsic branding ability. This is not a knock on Harris. It's just a distinction between the two of them.
Welcome to the Crypto Swamp Creatures, the show you never knew you needed and still don't want anyways. I'm Christopher Alexander, your blockchain and advocacy communications expert.
And I'm Justin Wallin, your guide through the often murky world of politics and polling.
Every week, we dive into the intersection of crypto, policy, and politics without taking sides. We're here to give you the straight, data-driven analysis that influences the decisions of those who want to win or want to be elected.
Think of it as a late 80s newscast, but with a twist. We bring you the serious stuff, but with a dash of sardonic wit and just a hint of irreverence.
So whether you're a crypto enthusiast, a policy wonk, or just someone who appreciates a data-driven approach, this is your place.
We bring you both sides, weigh the impact on crypto, and then we share what we use for show prep every week on our Medium.
So remember, no one is as smart as someone who agrees with you. And now get ready to enter the no swamp zone.
Welcome to the Crypto Swamp Creatures, where we try not to seem too smarmy. Justin, as we always open the show, and of course sometimes struggle to think of things because I don't think we're as smarmy as our caricatures of ourselves could be. We did go to Le Diplomat recently.
That's true. That is
where you basically have your own table. They know you immediately. I had the chicken paillard,
which is outstanding, right? Isn't that great?
It was great. It was great. And you very strongly recommended the warm shrimp salad, which I pointed out was an unfortunate name.
Yeah, it is. But it sounds like there's going to be repercussions from eating it, but it is one of the best dishes in DC. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I don't want to disparage the shrimp.
They're treated with care.
Care and feeding. So that kind of segues nicely into what we wanted to talk about here today, which is messaging on the presidential campaigns. We talked a little bit about the polls. Time is running out, and of course, there's always that weird early voting now,
right?
Which maybe we'll get into next week, and how that can sometimes throw things off. But just like warm salad doesn't quite sound like the right message. We've had Donald Trump, who's got, like and dislike him, a decent stand-up routine at the Al Smith Catholic dinner, a very bizarre Saturday Night Live type skit that Kamala Harris did and didn't attend, but then sent in a video. And when I saw that, it reminded me actually of something the Obama campaign did, very much in the opposite, or Obama people, he was president by then, which was actually hilarious. I'm curious if you remember this. Obama, the Lincoln movie had just come out. Daniel Day-Lewis was was the height of his popularity. And Obama did this video, I think for like the White House dinner or attendance, press dinner or whatever, where they poke fun at themselves. And I can't remember now exactly, but he either pretended he was Daniel Day-Lewis or as himself, or said Daniel Day-Lewis should be him. I can't remember, but it was hilarious. And they had clips of Daniel Day-Lewis, and they implied as Obama was speaking that he was Daniel Day-Lewis. And it was it was hilarious. Like him, dislike him. There was no way you couldn't laugh at that.
Well, first off, let's just put a stake in the ground that he owned those events, right? They were spectacular when he was president for two reasons. One, he's damn good. He's funny, he's engaging, he's likable, he can poke fun at himself, all the things that you want. Plus, the guest list was all rock stars. So who doesn't want to be a part of that? Name one person who's going to look at that and say, yeah, I just can't make that invite. You will be there, and you will be entertained. He was terrific.
And so that kind of brought together for me this interesting juxtaposition. We can also talk, obviously, about Trump in messaging versus Kamala Harris in messaging, but and we will. But I always find it gets a little contentious because it sounds like we're taking a side. So I kind of wanted to start with kind of the benchmark, which is actually both Obamas, right? Barack and Michelle Obama. And sometimes I got to wonder if Michelle Obama's kicking herself right now. I think if she'd have jumped in the race, she'd probably win.
I agree with you. Actually, hands down, had she entered the race, she would have won. I think there's very little question about that.
So let's get in a little bit of the why we're saying this. Kamala Harris has always struggled as a candidate. She actually pulled the plug on her presidential primary campaign before going into her own state. Many people say that was to avoid embarrassment because she was unlikely to even win her home state. And I've argued it's like a law of physics that when she speaks, her numbers go down. It's a struggle. Again, like her, dislike her. And it's such a contrast. And to me, what bridges this all together, and I find interesting, is a number of Obama veterans who helped, run two outstanding campaigns, are sitting with a African-American female candidate, and they can't get people as excited as they could for Obama. I want to put it that way, because again, they're not. I think they could be doing better. I don't think that means they're failing. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, to paraphrase it's the candidate, stupid, right? That's what we're faced with. And I'm not knocking Harris, by the way, but I'm saying there are distinct differences between Barack Obama, and let's keep Michelle Obama out of it for a moment and just keep it clean in terms of two candidates and juxtaposing them, because she didn't actually run for president, right? So Barack Obama did something, a very specific thing very, very well. He did a number of things very, very well, but he branded himself very well. And what I mean by that in terms of marketing, branding is the fuzzy, I like you, right? Do I like Disneyland? I like Disneyland. I like it a lot for a lot of different reasons, but it isn't necessarily, I like Disneyland because of that ride or that specific movie. There's a whole lot about it. So the speeds and feeds of it particularly are important, but they're secondary. So that brand looms large. His detractors would say, well, he said a lot without saying anything. I say nonsense. If you are able to achieve strong brand, everything else trickles along. Now, you have to do the other things well, right? The Apple brand and the Disney brand are all quite strong because their stuff works. That matters. But the halo is from brand. And he was able to do that, and he was able to do it reflexively. He was assisted by a terrific team, as any strong player should be assisted by it. That's the challenge that Harris has, is she does not have that intrinsic branding ability. This is not a knock on Harris. It's just a distinction between the two of them. So her team, which is excellent, did a terrific job of that branding when she became the nominee, and she has exhausted the powder within that space. And great job. She went from being, upside down in terms of favorability. People who knew her did not like her. And now she's at parity in a national presidential election in a very short amount of time. That's a stellar performance by any measure. That's incredible. Now she is posed with this thing of how do you win? And that gets into more, she just has exhausted her ability in branding. Now she's going to do something different. And I think there's something very specific in that space.
Yeah, it's interesting to me as well to look at this tactic which they kind of mastered when they ran Biden of not talking. It's as you said, like Obama's ability was to sometimes say nothing and sometimes agree with both sides of an issue. I remember in his first campaign, he's like, well, we could do this, but we're going to do this. And I remember, I'm like, did he just say both things at once? And everyone was cheering.
That's right.
And that
called skill.
That is a master campaigner, to be for and against it at the same time. And he was able to do that. On the foreign policy side, which I know a bit more than domestic, once he got into office, that was a nightmare. Then I think we're still living through the repercussions of it in Ukraine, in Syria, and in Libya. I could go on and on. ISIS, but man, it sounded good, and that's what candidates need. And that's why sometimes when we're talking, we say, the candidate versus the individual. I don't know a lot about Kamala Harris, the policy person, She's a very, very, very progressive voting record in the Senate when she was there. But those are two very, very different things. And I think a big messaging problem is I don't know which Harris is going to govern versus the one that's been out speaking. Just over the weekend, the environmental policy director said no, they aren't supporting fracking. They just don't want to ban it. So if you think she supports it, that's wrong. There's been a number of cases now where surrogates say one thing and the candidate for some time said nothing, but now has said something. The crypto for Harris, poor execution. I want to say debacle, but I don't think it damaged her. It's just, they ran out and said she loves crypto, and then everyone, including myself, was like, can we get a statement ever? And they, she did say, I believe, the word crypto. The promise, which was exclusive to African-American men, it seemed, I'm not sure why, but was crypto.
It was perhaps over-targeted.
Yeah, maybe you're pandering. I believe maybe that's illegal. We do have a Civil Rights Act in this country, but so it's going to be interesting. And as you point out, she's got 2 weeks minus early voting, which I think they're saying now 12 million people have voted.
Yeah. And
I guess 100 million will probably vote, 150 million, roughly half the country. I think is what they think turnout will be. She's running out of time and space, and as you pointed out, Donald Trump's message is, "I'm Donald Trump."
Yeah.
So
right. And those inconsistencies, for fair or unfairly, don't really apply in judgment to Donald Trump. He can say out of one side of his mouth, I am going to deport all folks who are here of undocumented status, and then out of the other side of his mouth, he can say, well, there's a lot of people here who are good and they're working, and we should take care of those folks. And really, what I'm talking about is the people who have actually committed murder or rape or stolen something of significance or something bad, right? So he's able to do that, and people can call him on it, but the voter doesn't look at it and say, "Oh my God, look at it, he's hypocritical." They look at it and say, "That's Donald Trump." She, on the other hand, has a higher burden, and that's not fair. But politics isn't fair. Just like Donald Trump complaining about walking into the debate and saying, "Well, I got a raw end of the deal." You will, because you are the Republican candidate. So there's nothing new there. The world is unfair, life is unfair, politics is really unfair. But she does have a challenge in front of her. The good news is, I think it's fairly identifiable, right? She has to make herself discernible from the past 4 years. She's really, really, really struggled with that. I suspect that may be a good personal trait, being loyal to those that you work with. That's a strong thing. That's something of character. That's something to be commended. It's not going to win the election. Yeah,
especially after she swore up and down that Biden was a horrific racist. Rolled right in, and that was great.
Politics. I hate that guy. I love you for supporting me.
When the check's written, everything changes. All is forgiven.
That's right.
So we'll see what happens. I think she's got a serious struggle here, just because historically she hasn't been good, and the foreign audiences have spoken. Trump's going to win. They don't even know what an electoral college is, the average person betting on Polymarket. But Polymarket's like 60-40 Trump over Harris, which I think is hilarious about that. But we'll maybe get into Polymarket bashing after the election.
And let's not forget that that falls in the world of probabilities, right? So 60-40, while they were calling, Trump giving a 30% chance of winning in 2016, he won. There's still a chance. It doesn't mean that the pie is baked. It's just not. Anyone who says they know for sure what's going to happen is lying or just extraordinarily naive.
Or is paid to lie in there.
Right. Again, perfectly legitimate.
Yeah,
perfectly legitimate. That is a job.
All right. Well, we've got one more week. We'll reveal our endorsements, the candidates we're picking, or not. next week. So it's going to be a real cliffhanger. I have no doubt that one of the two candidates is going to sway me. With some,
here's something new.
Yeah, they're going to come out and speak rationally and cogently on a topic, and I'm going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to vote now. So I don't know about you.
As will all the undecideds. They will suddenly hear something that changes their minds.
Well, many of those people will, but I don't know that I'll hear what I want.
All right, on to the next item.
All right, well, thanks again. Like, subscribe, help us on our sad slog, and we'll see you next time.
And that's all for this week on the Crypto Swamp Creatures.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the intersection of crypto, politics, and policy.
Remember, the data doesn't lie, and neither do we. Well, not about anything important anyways.
Until next time, stay informed, stay skeptical, stay out of the swamp.
Chum.